Excitement erupts because a man has been given 20 bales of hay. This will enable him to be able to underpin his camper to keep the pipes from freezing in the upcoming winter. A dad and his father are carrying buckets over a half a mile to a spring to carry water back to have to drink and wash what few dishes they may have so that they can be ready whenever they have the next meal, or possibly to utilize that water to wash what few clothes they have. Some will complain about the amount of taxes that's just been took out of their paycheck, while those in western North Carolina would love to have a paycheck and have not had one since the hurricane. Their business was washed away or their jobs was washed away, and there's nothing else around, even in walking distance, to find for work. A rain barrel is utilized so that they can take a bucket of water and pour it into the toilet so that they will have a way to flush the toilet. They are also utilizing the rain barrel to water livestock and chickens. Some people will sit down at a restaurant tonight and send the food back because it's a little cold. Meanwhile, a family of 4 are going to walk a mile to a relief center, hopefully to get a hot meal provided there or some beans and corn for tomorrow's meals, or maybe tonight's. A man is forced to sell his farm equipment so that he can heat his home with kerosene and propane over the winter and provide food for his family. A mother decides to go without eating for the day so that her child will be able to eat. A house has caught fire, but the fire department cannot get to it because the bridge is gone and it's inaccessible, so it burns to the ground. An elderly gentleman is seen walking an old footbridge across the river carrying cans of gasoline for the generator. Families are now being told that due to the new flood zoning maps created by FEMA, that the elevation and mitigation has taken the land they had for generation after generation and no longer can be used for any structures or homes. A man living in a small shed has found a hot water heater that came down the river, and he's cut it out and made himself a little wood-burning stove out of it so that he can heat his little shed this winter. A sick child is crying all night because they have an ear infection, and the mother and the father wondering how they could even afford to pay to take the child to the doctor, let alone find a way to get there. A home is still standing, and the mortgage company requires homeowners insurance to be paid to a company who will not pay for the damages from the hurricane. A group of volunteers has came and built a footbridge for an elderly couple so that they don't have to walk across the rocks and wade the river to get to the other side to be able to get groceries across. There's a man duct taping his boots together from the sole to the upper part because he can't afford a new pair of boots to continue work in. There's a preacher in the mountains refusing pay to preach so that that money can be utilized to feed the community. We're complaining about how high the property taxes are on our homes while we have people struggling in western North Carolina that are living in a woodshed to enclose it for the winter so that they don't freeze to death. A family has built a fire in a steel drum and wrapped in a quilt near it to try to stay warm because the freezing temperatures are so harsh in the little shed that they can't stay warm with the little buddy heater. So they're gathered outside, wrapped in a quilt around a fire-burning barrel. Foreclosure notices continue to come in the mail for those who have no home to call home but are yet still expected to pay the mortgage on something that's not there. A man is seen walking in pouring down rain from his home that was fortunately not washed away, but he's seen walking across the river and through the pouring rain into town to get to work. Midway Wesleyan Church has just paid to have a propane tank filled up that will enable the residents of Big Ivy area to be able to have a hot shower and a way to wash their clothes in a portable laundry and shower trailer that was donated by Swansea Baptist Church out of South Carolina. A family has made their way to the relief center hoping to find clothing for the children so that they'll have something to wear to school. A lady's roof was damaged by a tree and insurance refused to pay, and no help from FEMA. Helping Hands sent a check for $7,800 to pay for the roof for this lady who was taking care of her disabled father and her grandson. 8 families stuck on the opposite side of the river with no transportation relies on a neighbor 2 miles down the road who comes by and picks them up and carries them to the store or a relief center so that they may buy whatever they need or pick up whatever they need at a relief center. Small children are awaiting hot meals that are coming to the relief center on certain days and certain hours for one hot, good meal for the day. While we complain about how high the power bill is, there's a family in a little shed up there wondering how in the world they can even stay cool with a fan when they can't afford the gas for the generator. An elderly person has paid to repair their roof on their home that's still located on the other side of the river with no access, and now they don't have the money to buy necessary medication. Operation Mountain Relief has provided a chainsaw to a man who has been cutting trees since the hurricane and was so excited to have a new saw because his just blew up and he'll be able to cut firewood to stay warm over the winter. He was so appreciative. A young boy was excited to receive a bicycle, allowing him to be able to ride to the relief center to get small quantities of food and stuff for his mother and sister. The jobs I found are too far away, and I don't have transportation because we lost our vehicle in the flood, and I can't walk that far. Somewhere in western North Carolina, you've got a little boy asking his daddy for a pair of basketball shoes so that he can play basketball at school. And his daddy's going to have to tell him, son, we don't have the money for that right now. I've not been able to find a job. A man has just broken down into tears over receiving gift cards to Lowe's Hardware. This is going to enable him to buy a grill to be able to cook on, and he's so appreciative to be able to have this for his family. Paramedics are seen utilizing a side-by-side to cross over the mountain to get to a person who is needing medical treatment and assistance, and seen using the side-by-side to return back to the ambulance to transport the person to a hospital. Folks, what you've heard are accounts of what's taking place. These are daily struggles that the people of western North Carolina face daily. These are not made-up things. These are things that have been witnessed, and we're telling the story because there's no help coming. These folks are not seeing any help. They talk about all the money they're sending or they've allocated for western North Carolina, but these people, they're not receiving any of this money. It's a daily struggle, and we hope you'll consider helping western North Carolina. You're going to see the churches that are out there, the anchor churches for Operation Mountain Relief. You're going to see the Midway Wesleyan Church, who's helping with emergency situations anywhere needed. Helping Hands that are providing help to rebuild homes. The Bethel Wesleyan Church, which is helping to provide necessary propane. And folks, if you'll consider giving, it'll help these situations tremendously. Also, Appalachian Reclamation Coalition helping rebuild one home at a time in western North Carolina. Swiatocho Ministries helping those that are forced out of hotels and sheds and things to obtain a camper and be able to stock those. Appalachian Navy helping boots on the ground almost daily with consumer goods, commodities, whatever they need coming in and taking them to whatever relief center. And then you've got all the relief center directors that knows all of these families that are in dire straits all over western North Carolina. And fortunately enough, they've been able to continue to stay open with continued donations and things that are coming to them to help the community and those survivors that need the help the most. So folks, consider looking on the description form and click the little word that says more and help those in western North Carolina. Folks, I wanted to give us all a little something to think about here a year after Hurricane Helene. So this is some food for thought, and I hope you'll look to help western North Carolina in this time of need. Media is showing a year after what transpired and getting some of the stories. What they're failing to tell is how the current condition really is. A lot of this is being shown in recovered areas and talking with families and things. They're telling some of the horrific details of what happened, the lives lost. But I'm failing to see the reality of what's happened a year down the road. And I wanted to give us all something to think about.